Welcome back to the HR space with Lilian, where we break down workplace issues into simple human language. I am Lilian, and we are continuing our season 4 deep dive into diversity, equity, and inclusion. In the last two episodes, we talked about equity versus equality, the foundation of DEI. Today, we are tackling a specific form of discrimination that almost no one talks about: ageism. And here's what's interesting: ageism doesn't seem to be a problem in politics. You see 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds running countries, leading governments, and making major decisions. No one questions their age there. But in the workplace, age becomes a weapon, both against older workers and younger workers. I don't know about you though, but age is one aspect of DEI that I hardly ever hear anything about. And yet, the impact of ageist policy on workers is profound. So, today we are breaking it down. What is ageism? Who does it affect? And why does it matter? This is part one of a two-part series. Today we are understanding the problem. Next week, we will talk about your legal protections under Ghanaian law and what you can actually do about it. Let me start with a simple definition. Ageism is when you are denied an opportunity or, or experience discrimination during the job search or throughout your employment based on your age. It happens to older workers, it happens to younger workers, and it's damaging to both sides. Now, some of you might be thinking, but it's time for those boomers to get out of the way so I have a chance. And I get it. When you are young, ambitious, and struggling to break through, it can feel like the older workers are blocking your path. But here's what I need you to understand. While a few older workers do have privilege and power, many are shockingly disadvantaged. And they are passed over for promotions because they are too close to retirement. They are excluded from training because it's not worth the investment. They are laid off first during redundancies because companies assume they won't find another job anyway. And on the flip side, younger workers are dismissed as too inexperienced, not ready, or too young to be taken seriously, even when they are qualified. So ageism cuts both ways and it hurts everyone. Let me show you what this actually looks like in a Ghanaian workplace. And I'm going to use examples I have witnessed firsthand. At a company, I know there was redundancy situation. The company had to let people go. In some departments, they chose to keep the older workers, the ones with experience, the ones who knew how things worked, and let the younger, energetic ones go. In other departments, they did the opposite. They kept the younger workers, cheaper salaries, more adaptable, the future of the company, and let the older ones go. And here's the problem. In both cases, the decision wasn't based on performance, it was based on age. Not who is doing the best work, but who is older, who is younger, who fits what we think we need right now. That's ageism, and it doesn't just hurt the people who lost their jobs, it sends a message to everyone who stayed. Your value here isn't about what you do, it's about how old you are. And here's another one: a position opened up for CFO at a company. There was someone internally who had been doing the work. When the previous CFO left, this person acted the role. They knew the systems, they understood the financials, they were capable. But when it was time to fill the position permanently, the company hired an external candidate instead. The reason: the internal person was too young for such a position. Think about that for a moment. This person had already been doing the job successfully, but age, not competence, not performance, not results, age became the disqualifier. And what message does that send to the younger ones or the younger employees? It doesn't matter how old or good you are. If we think you are too young, we won't take you seriously. And that's ageism. And it destroys motivation, ambition, and trust. Now let's talk about something people don't discuss enough: the emotional toll on age discrimination. People seem to forget there is an emotional cost to being rejected or excluded based on your age. And it's greater than you might think. Because as humans, we are wired to seek acceptance and belonging. When we are rejected, especially based on something we can't even control, like our age, we experience humiliation and shame. And for the older workers, you've given decades to your career. You've built skills, knowledge, and relationships. And suddenly, you are treated like you are obsolete. You are excluded from meetings, passed over for projects, and quietly pushed aside. And you start to internalize the message. Okay, maybe I'm too old. Maybe it's time to just give up. That's not just disappointing, it's crashing. And for the younger workers, you are ambitious, you are capable, you are ready to contribute, and no one takes you seriously. Your ideas are dismissed in meetings, your potential is overlooked. You are told to wait your turn or be patient, even when you've proven yourself. And you start to think, why am I even trying? No one would see me as ready. That's the emotional tunnel of age discrimination. And it's real and it's damaging. When people are excluded based on age, whether they are older or younger, it doesn't just hurt productivity, it hurts people. It damages confidence. It creates environments where talent is wasted because of arbitrary assumptions about what someone can or can't do based on how many years they've been alive. But beyond the individual pain, ageism is a massive disservice to organizations because when you reject people based on age, whether they are older, younger, you lose the richness of employee experience and perspective. Think about what you lose when you let ageism drive your decisions. When you silence older workers, when you silence them, you lose institutional knowledge because they know what's been tried before, what worked, and what didn't. You also lose crisis management skills. They've navigated challenges, so they bring perspectives. You've also lose mentorship. They can give younger workers or even transfer their knowledge. They can guide them actually and transfer their knowledge. You also lose stability. They are less likely to hop because they provide continuity. And when you also dismiss younger workers, you also lose fresh perspectives because they challenge assumptions and bring new ideas. You also lose digital fluency because they adapt quickly to new technologies and platform. You also lose energy and ambition because they are hungry to prove themselves and also to innovate. You also lose long-term investments because building them up now means strong leadership later. And here's the thing you need you need from both sides to make the organization thrive. You need the wisdom and experience of older workers, and you need the innovation and energy of younger workers. So when you have both working together, when other workers mentor younger ones, or when the older workers mentor younger ones, when younger workers bring fresh ideas that older workers help refine, that's when organizations thrive. But when you let ageism divide your workforce, when you pit generations against each other, when you assume older workers are outdated or younger workers are inexperienced, you create artificial barriers that hold everyone back. It's not just unfair, it's counterproductive. So now you might be thinking, okay, Lilian, I get that ageism is a problem, but is it really that serious here in Ghana? Oh, yes, it is. In Ghanaian workplaces, I see ageism play out in very specific ways. Older workers are often seen as inflexible or stuck in their ways, especially in fast changing industries. And younger workers are dismissed as not ready or too ambitious, even when they have the skills. Redundancy decisions often come down to age and not performance. Promotion decisions are influenced by perceptions of age, not actual capability. And here's what makes it complicated. There's no clear legal protection specifically for age discrimination in Ghana. We will talk more about that in part two. But what I want you to understand right now is this: ageism is happening, it's damaging, and it's costing both individuals and organizations more than they realize. So, ageism is real, it affects older workers and younger workers, and the emotional and organizational cost is also profound. But here's what I want you to also know: you are not helpless. So in part two, we are going to talk about your legal protection under Ghanaian law. What does the Constitution say about discrimination? How does it apply to age? What can you actually do if you experience age discrimination? And how can employers create workplaces where age diversity is valued instead of weaponized? Because understanding the problem is just the first step. Knowing your rights and knowing what to do, that's where the power is. So that's it for part one of age discrimination. Come back next week for part two, where we get into your real legal protections and practical action steps. Thanks for joining me on the HR space with Lilian. Always remember, HR isn't just about policies, it's about people, and people of all ages deserve respect and opportunity. So I will see you in part two. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Bye bye.